Welcome to the REVB Podcast, the Real Estate Video Blueprint Podcast, for those of you who don't know what REVB means. But today we have on the show, always, the wonderful Katie Day. Katie, how are you?
Hello, I'm wonderful.
And today we're joined by our good friend, Bill Olson, out of Charleston, South Carolina. Bill, welcome to the pod, the show, whatever we're calling it.
Thanks for having me. I get to be here with both of you.
You know,
it's questionable whether this is real or just like a big joke. I'm still trying to figure that out.
like we invited you to a fake podcast as some big practical joke. I like it.
Yeah,
we would do that. That is something.
Like 20 other people are going to show up. Be like, just
this is actually a roast. We actually don't want to talk to you about your content. I have many people waiting backstage to roast you.
That would have been ready? So good.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
Oh, can we do that to somebody?
And then that would be a podcast. Well, hopefully whoever we do it to doesn't listen to this great idea we had.
So, you know who's not going to listen to this?
Nate probably doesn't listen.
No.
Bob.
Brad McCallum.
Brad or Bob. Yeah, definitely.
Brad would be a lot more fun to make fun of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, let's dive in.
I'm starting the petition. Let's do a roast.
It needs to stay on the
DL.
Have
like 30 people backstage and just bring them up one by one.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, so why are you here, Bill? What are you known for in the content world?
I am a one-time attendee of the Real Estate Video Blueprint.
Yep.
Because Katie doesn't check with my schedule before she schedules more of them. And I'm on, as Tim calls it, the tube.
YouTube. Yep. So, yes, Bill came to Real Estate Video Blueprint once, and that was enough for him, and he never came back. And so I was saying
it was that good. I knew you couldn't top the first one.
Yeah.
So, Bill, for the people who don't know, give us your 30-second elevator pitch of what you've done with content marketing.
So 30 seconds. I am in the Charleston, South Carolina market. I was one of the OGs, I guess you could say, of those of us that got into YouTube, which was very good because I got to make all my bad videos a long time ago. But now it's getting a little more difficult because now I have to keep up with everybody else who's now trying to get into it. Just hit 6,000 subscribers like 2 days ago and closed 25 plus million straight from it.
I love that. And that's kind of a nice little jumping point because I do know a lot of agents will look at, they'll look at YouTube, they'll kind of research who's doing YouTube in their market, and they'll see some people are already doing it. And that will usually be one of the reasons why they don't do it. And so as someone who's kind of started out early before other people were doing it, got in early, so you had that opportunity. What would you say to agents that are looking to get started? Should they not get started if they see there's a lot of agents in there?
Not in my market. No, just don't do it.
If
you're in Houston or San Antonio, just go all in.
Yeah.
But Charleston, it's not worth it.
But what should the mindset be around agents that think the market's too saturated with real estate agents on YouTube?
So I'm glad you asked this, Tim, because it's actually in my notes to talk about. When I got started, it was super easy to just go in and create those videos, the pros and cons, the why you should live here, the I call them the quote unquote search term videos that everyone made. But now you need to do a lot more research, and you really need to find a gap in the content that's being created with all the other agents. So you're going to have 75% of the agents in your market are making the exact same videos. So you need to figure out what's not being made and attack that space and become that person.
So when you're looking at content that other people are making in Charleston, one, I guess, are you still watching other agents' videos? Or are you just reading their titles? Or how much research are you doing to try to figure out what people aren't making?
So one of the only things I really use TubeBuddy for anymore is to track the other agents with the bigger channels
Yeah.
in my market. So I can just go in there. I'm like, okay, here's what they're making. Here's this video worked. This video didn't, but it should have. And I mean, I won't poach their content, but I get inspiration from things that other agents in my market are doing, but I know I could do it different and better.
When you
So,
say they have a video that you think should work but it didn't, what does that mean?
so the concept or the idea or the information, you're like, oh man, that's a good idea. But then you go and you're like, the thumbnail's garbage, the title's garbage, the video's garbage. You're like, I can do this. And like
Yeah.
you realize it's something that should have been better,
Mhm.
but they just kind of half-assed it.
Well, and I love that. I know Trey had a video where he sent me the thumbnail and he sent me the title, and I'm like, dude, this is a beautiful thumbnail and
And it gets
title.
20 views.
Yeah, but the video wasn't that great. And then you see other agents who have this great video, but the thumbnail and title isn't great, so the video doesn't do well. And so it's just an interesting thing to go look at what other people are doing and see where the opportunity is.
Yep. And then I look at like other channels around the country too. And funny story about that. So I had this crazy idea with my videographer that we were going to do a video like Mr. Beast. And so we filmed it, we put it out there, and we toured $200,000 new construction homes up to a $2.6 million new construction home. And I'm like, this is like the greatest idea ever. Last night, I go on Ken Pozek's channel because I had just like, I couldn't think of a video to make. I'm like, let me just see what he's doing. He did that same video 5 months ago. Like, so now everyone probably thinks that I ripped him off. I had no clue.
He's
and
us.
And it's $200,000 to $2 million homes on his. I'm like, I did the damn exact same video as him. I was like so disappointed in myself. Like I thought I had this like great idea. So if anyone's watching, I did not copy Ken yet.
Everybody that
well, at least not that video.
Podcast, yeah, this is the reason they tuned in. They're like, Bill Olson's that guy that copied Ken Pozek.
Yeah.
That's what you're known
The Ken
for now.
Pozek wannabe. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's get ideas from people in other markets, because that's where you're going to find those gaps in content.
Well, when we have people getting started, there's a theme that comes up, which is, what are you using for SEO and keyword research as far as like keywords and SEO goes?
I'm not.
Tell me more.
So if you look at it this way, YouTube is, everyone's like, oh, it's a big search engine, blah, blah, blah. YouTube's actually a social media platform disguised as a search engine. And if you're going only after that search, let's say there's 100 people searching for moving to San Antonio, and you get a 5% click-through rate. 100% people search, 5 people watch it. Let's say you're going more towards the organic, you want the algorithm to pick it up and send it out to people. Well, let's say there's 1,000 people that have the same persona as the people that are searching moving to San Antonio. So now you have 1,000 people that are seeing it that didn't search for it. If you get that same 5% click-through rate, you've got 50 views. So if you're only going search, you're severely limiting yourself to only people that are typing that in. Most of your viewers aren't typing those words in. They're just out there doing the same things as someone who's researching your area.
And they say search engine all the time, but the bigger power in YouTube is that it's a recommendation engine. It's a discovery engine, and it will recommend things. And so the goal isn't to be number one in search, which isn't bad. There's a lot of search-based channels, but the goal is to be number one in content that's getting recommended to people for them to watch. Because as much as Google knows what you're searching, they also know, about how old Bill is. They know what Bill's interested in. They know about Bill's family. Like, they know all these things. That's the data that's really powerful with Google is not the fact that people search stuff. It's the fact that with the algorithms, they know the personal profiles of people.
And pre-AI, they said that Google, YouTube could read at a 5th grade level. I mean, it's who knows where it is now. But even at a 5th grade level, it knows when you're keyword stuffing to try and fit into that search. Like, so if you're optimizing for search, you need to optimize for the human. Like, no one's going to look at a video that's titled "Moving to Houston, Why You Should Move to Houston, the Pros and Cons of Moving to Houston." Like, that's a terrible video title.
Let me go change my title.
Yeah, please. I've got Katie's
YouTube
pulled up. I'm just reading her titles right now. But there's a lot of people that title their videos that because they're like, oh, it's going to get picked up in the search. The search is going to pick it up. But you need to optimize for the human. And it's not so much an algorithm as it is like full AI in YouTube now, that it's not analyzing what you say. It's analyzing every frame of your video. It's analyzing to make sure that if you're talking about Houston, that you have pictures and B-roll of Houston in there. It knows that you're doing that. So it's creating all of this metadata that, like, you know, you can put 500 characters of tags in, but like, think about the amount of metadata and tags that YouTube's creating for you from just putting your content in there. It's crazy.
Well, and so with all of that being said, like, do you update the tags on a video, you know, for like your 200 to $2 million homes? Did you have like different priced homes in the tags, or do you just have like some basic ones that are there and just leave them?
I basically just have the basic ones.
Yeah.
I think I only do tags because I did it to start with, and it's just like part of my workflow to just like type a bunch of stuff. I don't put much thought into it.
Yeah, I love my favorite story was when Jeremy called Trey about his video that blew up and just took off on him. And Jeremy said, "Trey, what tags did you use?" And Trey said, "What's a tag?" Like, I think I will say, I think sometimes tags may help early on when you're starting your channel to try to just give YouTube a nudge of what your channel could be about, because when you're starting a channel, YouTube has no idea what your channel's about. So I think it may help a little bit early on. But after that, like Bill's saying, it's looking at who's watching your video. It's looking at how long they're watching your video. It's looking at how many people clicked on your video. And it has way better data on who your video is for than tags.
Well, I mean, and I think that all of us have like basic 25 tags or 10 tags or whatever is set up on the YouTube channel in the settings from when we first made our channels. And it's like, you know, moving to Houston, living in Houston, blah, 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 Houston. And
those aren't your titles?
Well, it's my title as well, just because I heard if you double down, that's terrible advice. Don't follow it. You know, so I had all of that kind of set up, you know, but like, it isn't something that I'm like trying to figure out, okay, for this particular video, what do I add kind of thing.
I've also heard that if there's common misspellings of your town or your area or something, put those in the tags, because those could get picked up.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the actual thing. I think that came from Christina Smallhorn. She's thing too.
That's
that she puts misspellings.
That's funny.
In her tags.
Well, that's funny because nobody else is doing it. And so if somebody searches that, then they're more likely
this is the one video
to pop up. It's the one video that pops up with the wrong search. So I will say that's like a little algorithm hacky, but most of the stuff that Bill's talking about is not trying to hack the algorithm. It's just giving the algorithm what it wants, which is the videos that people are going to click on and people are going to watch.
Yes.
And that's where I think creators like yourself get the most obsessed with, like, what are the topics and thumbnails that are super clickable that people are going to watch? And then how do I put this video together that keeps people's attention? Like, those are the focuses, not how do I get it to pop up on search or anything else. And the people that get obsessed with that tend to be the ones that make these great channels that generate a lot of business.
All right. So I want to get a little tactical. Like, you mentioned that, like, there's still opportunity to do YouTube, right? Like, although many people have successful channels and there may be many YouTube realtors in your local market, like there's probably still opportunity for you also to do it. So like if you were starting over either in a new city or in, Charleston again today, what would be the things that you would do to like kick off your channel to get it started?
I would make it a lot more personal. So with those like search term videos, you can still make those, but you need to be a lot more tactical with it. You're not just gonna be like pros and cons of living in Charleston. What you would do if you're not from the area, I would make a pros and cons video, but the title would be, what I love and hate about living in Charleston, or, now I'm going to tell my story about what's going on. Like one of my biggest videos was I moved from one area to another, and I did a pros and cons video of the area I moved to, but I actually titled it "Why I Left the Other Area." And it was that sort of, I actually did the video like on my front porch talking about like, hey, here's why we moved. Here's what sucked over there. Here's what sucks over here. And it did fantastic. But on the surface, it was still just a pros and cons. So you need to really look at how you're presenting your info. People love stories. They want to hear whether it was you, a client, like tell those stories as to why you're picking these things, and they'll relate to you.
And the thing I love about that is that video was Bill the person, why we moved, not Bill the realtor. And I think too many times as agents, we do, I make the Tim the realtor video instead of just the Tim video. And, it's funny you said that. You made me think of our agent Yasha, who's hasn't done a ton on YouTube, but has a couple of videos that have gotten her leads. And I was looking at how many views and subscribers she has compared to how many phone calls she's got. And I'm like, how is she getting this many phone calls with such a small audience? And the reason is her videos are super personal. And so the people that are watching them are really connecting with them.
Well, no one's going on YouTube and going, I'm going to go on YouTube and find a realtor. No, they're coming across your videos. They're watching 10 of your videos, and then they go, wait, and he sells real estate? Like, what a coincidence. Like, that's what happens in their mind. It's not, I'm going to go on YouTube. Who's the best realtor in Charleston? Like,
nobody is looking for that on YouTube. That is
I'm probably not going to show up. Like,
yeah.
But no one's looking for that. They're looking for the information. So you're just presenting the information, you're telling the stories, and he happens to be a realtor. Like, this is crazy. Like, that's what they think.
Love it.
All right. So more personal stories. I really like that. I find when I'm like looking up for ideas and I'm checking in different cities to see like what is working well, like a lot of times it's the people giving their like, here's my 1 year update living in this city kind of thing. And like a lot of times, like then at the bottom, you see that it's a realtor, right?
I'm writing that down.
Yeah. How long? When did you move? It was around this time last year.
It was like a year and a half. So yeah.
18 months.
Watch my channel for that.
Well, and I know, like, for just staying on that same storytelling topic, like Brad McCallum did one where it was, this is why we're leaving Calgary, right? Because they were moving to a suburb or they're moving to a different part of town. And it was basically a home tour, still the same, idea of his entire channel. He did a home tour. So yeah, but anyways, all right, let's go more technical. Tim, what do you got?
But I do love on Brad's point, just the comments he got of people that were like, I love to see your, oh my God, like that. You could tell these people have watched him and followed him for years and they were super excited to see his house. But technical. Yes, Bill, people want to know, like, what kind of camera to use? How do you get your editing done? What does that process look like for you creating the content? And how much time a week would you say you're putting into making the content?
Let's back this up a little bit. So if you're just getting started, don't buy a fancy camera, because then you have to learn how to film with a fancy camera and it won't look that good and you'll get very depressed and disappointed and you won't create anything, and you'll have an expensive paperweight. With that being said, I now film with a Sony a7 IV, and fancy. It stays right up here. I have my microphone. My videographer films with Canon. We won't hold that against him. When I first started, people thought I was crazy because it takes a long time to put out a video, because I didn't have an editor. I didn't have a videographer. I did it all myself. And it was like a part-time job, just creating content. And people were like, you spent how long making this video? I was like, don't worry. Like it'll pay off. It'll work for me when I'm not working. And now it's gotten down from like 10 hours a week to like 2. And, I found an editor that I really like, and I have a videographer who helps. I still film everything in my office, and I just send it off. So that makes it a lot easier.
Finding an editor. What resources did you use to find an editor?
I went overseas, and that was okay-ish. The plus side of finding an editor overseas is they're dirt cheap. The downside is they don't really understand the content we're making.
Yeah.
So they need a lot of hand holding. So I would film 25 minutes. I never turn my camera off when I'm filming. So I get 25 to 30 minutes, and then I cut it down so I don't have to like piece it together. I would then have to take that 25 minutes. I would personally have to cut it down to what I wanted, and I would have to send it to them to add titles and B-roll. Well, there's also a Charleston, West Virginia. So someone in the Philippines doesn't know the difference between Charleston, South Carolina, and Charleston, West Virginia. So now I'm doing even more work because I have to provide them with B-roll.
Yeah.
Just to save a couple bucks. Now my editor is in Michigan. His father is Mike Edwards with the 10-7 Project.
Oh, nice.
So he knows real estate.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. I have to give him 0 direction. And it's worth every freaking penny.
Well, and I would think that like what you were saving in money paying someone overseas, you were probably spending in time, right? And so like if you would take the time that you now don't have to spend searching for B-roll or sourcing B-roll or, going and shooting it yourself. I've had those where it's like, oh shit, we don't have enough. Let me go run out over to that side of town and get some more. So yeah. No, that's,
now I still provide some local B-roll because he's in Michigan and I'm not. But when my videographer and I film, we'll just grab extra B-roll. Or if I'm out at a showing, here's a little trick for you guys. Whenever you're out doing showings, show up 20 to 30 minutes early or leave 20 to 30 minutes later and get B-roll of that area or that neighborhood, even if you need it or not. Throw it in your B-roll file and you have it, because one day you're not going to want to drive 45 minutes just to get a picture of that suburb sign, and you're already going to have it.
So when you say a B-roll folder or a B-roll, file, you have just, a Google Drive or a Dropbox folder. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's just a Google Drive folder, and I keep everything in there that we have. And so when I send the file to my editor, I'll just link the files. I don't even have to like make them attachments. I'm like, hey, here's your links.
Yeah.
Just go. He has access to them, but sometimes it's easier if like there's a specific
what you want.
I want this and this. Otherwise, like, I can just like send him the whole folder and be like, just pick whatever you want.
Yeah.
And
the earlier you get organized, I think the better. And so when you start, if you start putting these folders together where you've got your downtown B-roll, you've got restaurants B-roll, you've got Alamo Ranch B-roll, Stone Oak B-roll, like you start categorizing the different neighborhoods that you're getting. Then after you've done this for a couple of years, like you have this B-roll library that's super easy to go back to.
You never have to leave your office.
You never have to leave the office. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely a fun thing to get started early on. It's one of the things that when you're starting, you don't think about, but the earlier you do it, the less work it'll be for you in the long run.
Yeah. And you don't even need like a big camera, like film it with your phone.
Oh,
You
so
always have your
much.
phone
That's
on you. Just
I love
roll.
like I do those vacation videos and everybody's like, "What camera are you using?" It's like my iPhone.
yeah.
Just so much good footage on the phone.
Well, and what's great too is like if you're using Google Drive or even if you're using Dropbox and you're shooting it on your phone, you can then just go on to the Google Drive or Dropbox app on your phone and upload it directly from your phone. So like you don't have to airdrop it or connect your phone to anything. You can just upload it into the app and then it's there for you at a later date or your videographer or editor or whoever needs it.
And I like to drop a quick little thing on using the phone because people hit me up about what camera they should buy. If you can't get good looking video from your phone, you are not going to get good looking video from a better camera. And so, like, get good at using your phone and then get really good at using your phone and you know how to frame a shot and all the other fun stuff. And then you can go get a good camera. But if you can't make it look good on your phone, a good camera just makes it actually harder.
And use these cameras, not this one, this one. When you're
For
going to
those
say,
of you
but I can't.
listening,
Forward-facing
Oh
camera.
yeah, use the cameras on the back of your phone. And I know you're going to say, but then I can't see myself. No, that's good because if you can see yourself, you're looking at yourself. You're not looking at the camera. So then when a viewer is watching,
yeah.
you're doing this. And now they're watching you talk off the screen and not at them. And that's super distracting. Oh,
So,
and if you're listening to this, I was looking away from my camera because this is a podcast.
Yeah. All good.
And which is weird because it's a podcast about video. Is this a video podcast? Or
We're
just-
recording. We're recording the video
Okay.
as well. We got video
it's
and
on
audio
YouTube. For
Oh.
those of you that want to see our faces, you can go to our YouTube channel and
to
check
see
out
our
our faces.
7 views.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's
so
because of your titles.
yeah, it must be.
and thumbnails.
And thumbnails. Okay, so just to recap a little bit, just starting out, you would recommend use your phone. You would recommend getting B-roll and getting it regularly when you're out for home tours, when you're going to meet clients, when you're on the other side of town and just doing things in your city. What would be some things like as far as advice from like where you were to where you are now, like the scaling up side of things, like hiring an editor, would you have done that from the beginning if you had to start all over? Do you think that it was helpful that you learned some editing skills so you knew your way around?
Yeah. So learn to edit. Learn the basics of editing. I don't care if you're terrible at it and the videos you edit you never post, but if you can talk the language to an editor, you can better tell them exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what a transition or a title or a jump cut is, you can't tell them that that's what's in your head that you like or you don't like. You're like, I like that thing where it goes from one video to the next and it kind of gets fuzzy in the middle. Like,
you sound like Tim.
Yeah. It's the difference of talking to a first-time home buyer or a fourth-time home buyer on how much hand-holding you need to do. Like, put yourself in their shoes. Like, do you talk to language or do you need to like get everything explained to you? So if you know the basics of editing, then bring on an editor because you're probably going to go to the Philippines first because it's cheap. And then that's going to be that whole like language
Learning
barrier
process.
as well.
Yeah. Well,
so learn the
thing I
basics
always-
of editing.
Yeah, the thing I always related back to is if you like, I don't want a cold call, but if I'm going to hire an ISA, I better be good enough on the phone where I know what I'm looking for, right? Like if I do cold call, I'm going to be in a lot better place to hire an ISA or someone to make calls on my behalf because I'm going to understand what it's like to be on the phone with somebody and know what needs to get done. And so we're not telling anybody they should go be a video editor when they make their YouTube channel, unless you just love it and it's like a escape for you and you just really enjoy doing it. Most of us, it's not going to be the case. But you have to know the product enough to be able to hire an editor, because one of the worst things I see people do is like they hire a media company to make their YouTube videos for them. And the problem is that you are like the producer of these videos. You may not be the editor, you may not be the one getting the B-roll, but you need to know what they look like. You need to know how they connect with the audience. You need to know the strategy behind it all so you can go execute it. You can't expect to hire out the strategy and the vision and everything else behind it.
Well, and if one other thing too, just also sometimes if you're hiring a local videographer to shoot for you, right? Like I know for me sitting down and talking direct to my camera or talking to my phone, like isn't always going to happen. So like I just have someone come to me for a certain amount of hours per week. So it's like in my calendar, I'm paying for it. They can also edit too sometimes. So you may be able to find a local videographer that can do both. You don't necessarily have to have one for each. Tim,
When I found my videographer, one of the biggest question I asked them all when I was interviewing was, how familiar are you with real estate content?
Yeah.
And the answer I was looking for was, I'm not. Because I didn't want to make real estate content. I think most of it's boring.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, like a lot of it's just boring. And so I wanted someone who like wanted to do more and wanted to have fun. And that's how I found the guy that I'm with now.
I love that.
So one of the other, shifting gears a little bit, one of the other basic questions that we get are people, when they're first starting their channel in the beginning is like, how frequently should you post? And so from when you started, what was your cadence of posting? And then what does it look like now?
Once a week, and not quite once a week. I'm a little behind because of life right now.
How long would you say that you stuck to the once a week posting?
For a few years.
Yeah.
I mean, missing here and there, but I think some people like they try and they're like, I'm gonna do every other day. And you're like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Or there were some people last year like, I'm gonna do 100 videos in 100 days. I'm like, no, you're not.
Are they? But the thing is,
I don't think any of them finished it.
And forget the 100 videos, 100 days. Like, are they good? Are they good videos? And I always bring up the YouTube formula of try, fail, analyze, adjust. Try, fail, analyze, adjust. My problem with the 100 videos in 100 days is it's just a bunch of try, fail. There's never time to actually analyze if your videos are working and adjust and tweak and do good. So you gotta figure out.
You're also not giving YouTube enough time to find your audience. I've had videos that for the first like 48 hours, I'm like, God damn, this video is a flop. And then I wake up the next day, I'm like, wait, where did these 1,000 views come from?
Yeah.
Like, and if you're posting too often, you're posting a video before YouTube finds a new audience for that video. So they're like, wait, well, now there's a new one. So now they're jumping to the new one because they want to find that audience. Before they find that audience, you're posting another video. So you're not giving them time. And you're going to burn out. Twice a week is a lot to post. You will burn out and you will run out of things to talk about.
Yeah, nowhere where any of us live is that interesting. But anyways, so Tim, try, fail, analyze, adjust.
Yep.
When you're looking at your videos, and as you said, sometimes you're like, oh man, this was a flop. What are you looking at to see, hey, I think this one performed well, or this one's gonna get some steam, or hey, I think this is a really good video? What are like the key things that you review?
So first thing's gonna be views, just total number of views, and how that compares to similar videos and my recent videos, whether it's, YouTube ranks it like 1 out of 10. So I'm always shooting for a 4 or higher. But then you also have, how long are they watching the video? You could have a ton of views, but if they're only watching 10% of it, then like, oh, well, I got them into the video, and then my content sucks. So now YouTube's not going to promote that because they're like, well, these people are bouncing super quick. Like they don't even want to watch this.
Yeah.
And I think people spend too much time analyzing their click-through rate, because once YouTube finds your audience and those impressions skyrocket, your click-through rate's going to plummet.
Yeah.
I've had some of my best videos have like a 1.5% click-through rate, which I'm okay with because YouTube pushed that video out to hundreds of thousands of people. But law of averages, like less people are going to click it, but you're going to get more views because more eyes get on it.
I do think one thing I love about YouTube that you don't get with these other platforms is how much analytics they give you that you can analyze. So it's a ton of fun to jump in. I do think
Analysis paralysis.
yeah, but you do have to put out enough content to get good data from. And so if you don't have many views, it's kind of hard to play the data. You really have to kind of use some of your own intuition there. But once you build an audience and you're getting views, you can really dive into the analytics and get a bunch of good data. And the thing that Bill was hitting on is the fact that when you put out a video and you have a channel with a decent audience, your click-through rate should be higher because it's first going to put it out to the people that are subscribed to you. They already watch you. And so you can expect to have this great high click-through rate early on because YouTube's showing it to the people who you're like their favorite channel. And then what happens is it gets some traction and it starts to go out to that secondary audience or that third audience. And your click-through rate's naturally going to go down as that video has been up longer. And so as you're analyzing your videos, that's the reason why they like that ranking, because that'll show you how well it's performed in the first 48 hours compared to your other videos in the first 48 hours.
And with that, like, even if the reach goes up and your views don't go up, like, that's still good because it means that YouTube is testing new audiences with your content. So it's almost like they have enough faith in you that they can push your content to new people to see if it resonates with them. Just because it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means, okay, YouTube missed the mark. Like, they're not 100% all the time, but that's perfectly okay. We lost Tim. For those of you listening on audio, Tim's camera just gave out.
It's all good. I think he's like choking on something. I don't know.
I hope he's okay.
Well, he turned off his camera, so I don't know. I'll text his wife and just make sure to see if Pon can go do a health and wellness check. Okay, so we've covered a lot as far as like technical things, stuff like that. I guess, did you have any notes of things that you're like, I wish that I would have gotten this advice before I started my channel?
Yeah, calls to action. Because we're not doing this just to get views. We're doing this to get business and for people to reach out to you.
Okay.
You don't need a million calls to action because they'll find you if they like you. But you do have to tell them how to get in touch with you. I don't like putting my contact information on the screen in case it changes.
Yeah.
So I use a Calendly link and I have my information in the description. But you can also use lead magnets, but just get creative with them. Don't be like, download my buyer guide, because no one's going to get it. No one's going to want it. Like, make something fun.
Where do you put the CTA?
Middle and or the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't ask for anything until you've given them something. Hi, Tim. Welcome back.
Well,
we were going to do a health and wellness check on you, Tim. I was going to on.
Yeah, no, I love on the CTAs because if you watch that audience retention graph, you can see all the people drop off in the beginning and then it holds level and it's slowly dwindling. And when you think about it, the people that made it all the way to that end of that video, like, those are your people. And that's where you should put your CTA, because that's your highest and best audience that wants to hear your CTA.
Yeah, and no one cares who you are at the beginning. Because you have to treat every video like they've never watched one of your videos before. And if you spend the first 45 seconds talking about how great you are, they're not going to get past that. I mean, like, I didn't click on this video because I wanted to see how great Katie was. I clicked on this video because I want to know what it's like to live in Houston. Like, come on, lady, shut up. Get to the point. Like that's serious. Like, and we've been taught as realtors, like, every training you go through in the first year when you're licensed is you need to tell everyone what you do, ask for their business, tell them how great you are. And that's how you're successful. Well, no one cares on YouTube. They don't care who you are. Like I said, it's a coincidence that you're a realtor.
And I think it's a lot of the great YouTube agents that I know are really good at planting the seeds. And so when you're going through a neighborhood, you're like, we actually had a client buy in this neighborhood and and you're planting the seed that you have had clients and everything else. And same thing on your lead magnets. It's not like, email me if you want a copy of our free buyer guide. But when you're going through and you're like, actually, one of my clients who read our relocation guide mentioned that we left out a big piece, which was this. And now you're just going, wait a second, they have a relocation guide? I want a relocation guide. And it's totally different than if you're telling them to sign up for it.
It's funny you say that because from Dan Parker, I added like, schedule a discovery call as a link in the description of our YouTube, right? And so I edited that on the standard description of every video. So it's in there. And I feel as if we actually used to get more inbound emails and scheduled Calendlies before I had the link in the thing to now when I have it there, I feel like we don't get as many. I'm also not posting as many videos, so maybe there's a correlation to that. But it is interesting, seeding it in your videos because people, are watching and listening, and especially if it's towards the end of the video. All right. So CTAs, don't start off your video and say, hey, I'm Bill Olson and I'm Charleston's best realtor. And if you want to move to South Carolina, I'm the one to help you. Start off with the meat of the video, add the CTA at the end. What else would be like advice that you would give that you wish you would have known sooner?
I have one for Katie.
Yeah.
Katie has a consultation call schedule link on her thing. In her video, she could be like, I was actually on a consultation call with one of the viewers like you, and they brought up this thing. So you can plant the seed of the consultation call in your videos instead of telling people to sign up for one.
I don't tell anyone anything. It's just in the description. But Bill, what other advice would you give if you were, what do you wish you would have known way back when?
That my thumbnails sucked at the beginning. I thought they were so good. Now they're so embarrassing. And don't try and be perfect. Like, everyone has this view of like, I'm going to make this video and I'm going to get a videographer and it's going to be like, I'm going to be so flawless. That's not what people want. Like, my videographer and I have had discussions of, I was like, if I mess up, keep it in. If something funny happens and you catch it on film, like, let's figure out how we're going to put that in there. And I tell my editor that too. I'm like keep a couple mistakes in because I want it to humanize myself. Like, I don't want to be like so polished that people are like, oh, like, is that really who this guy is?
Yeah.
Like,
no one ever thinks that. No one ever thinks
that. I know.
That.
No one has ever thought that. So yeah, don't chase perfection. Like, chase some imperfections because you will relate with so many more people if you chase a few imperfections.
Well, I think that the other thing is it, like, my best performing video was shot on a cell phone. It's like not crisp and clear as you are right now. Like, and it has brought us a ton of business, right? And so I think that people are like, okay, well, I can't post this because, and it's like, just post it because you're going to continue to get better. You're going to continue to do more. And if it's that shitty of a video, no one's going to see it. And they're not going to watch it.
And, Bill, you're talking about some Peter McKinnon stuff and everything. And like, Peter McKinnon's production quality is ridiculous, right? I mean, he's so
That's
good.
What he does.
Yeah. His stuff is gorgeous, but I will say his superpower is connecting through the camera. And it doesn't really matter that his video quality is amazing. It's the way he talks to the camera in a way that just connects.
He's so dynamic. Like,
he's so good.
He's so good.
He could build an audience just the way he talks to the camera and have way less production value. And so it's less on that production value. It's more how you connect with the audience and how you talk to the camera.
100%. Don't think of it as you're talking to an audience. Like, your camera is like your one friend or your one client. Like, that's how you should always go about filming your videos.
Yeah.
Is just only hey, moving. I'm talking to one person. And I recently read or saw something somewhere. It said, don't be like, hey guys, like, don't use the language of talking to a collective group. Like, you use the language of talking to a singular person because it's somebody sitting in their living room watching you, probably on their TV, which is still mind-blowing to me that most of my views come from TV. but you're not talking to an audience like when you let Trey speak at REVB. Like, you're talking to one person.
It's offensive, but continue. He's got the Cav koozie, and the thing is,
Get this man a new koozie.
Get this man a new koozie.
The only one I have.
I think that's a very important thing, and I just think about the words that we lead with. Like, if you were talking to a single person at their kitchen table, would you say, "Hey guys"?
Right.
Of course not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, would you say your hook if you were sitting with your buyer, like, at the table? Would you open that way? And yeah, I think that's definitely a good takeaway. So, Bill,
And I'm guilty of it. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, because it's
you are guilty.
I'm 100% guilty of it, and it's something that I know I need to work on. And it's one of the hardest things, because we think of, like, this video, hundreds of people are going to see this video.
Yeah.
And that's who I'm going to talk to. And I don't even think about it. It just happens.
And I wouldn't get too caught. I mean, I think it's a nuance there that's important that could help out. I wouldn't want you to get too caught up on it, but if you just tweak, because real estate and getting that reach out for somebody to work with you is very personal. Like, it's a very personal thing. Like, they trust you and they just respect your opinion because they've been watching these videos, and they're going to reach out to you. There are successful YouTube channels that have a newscaster vibe to them, and they do talk like they're talking to a big audience, and that's fine, because that's what the goal of their channel is. Their goal of their channel is to build a big audience. The goal of our channel is that people build a personal connection with us and reach out to us to buy a home. And that's why the nuance in how you talk to the camera is so important to build that trust. But Bill,
Tim,
we have had you on here for a little while. I think we've got some pretty good nuggets from you. But is there anything that you want to leave the audience with that you feel like we didn't hit on?
if you have anyone moving to Charleston, I got a guy. He's pretty okay-ish at real estate, but I got a guy. And, like, I love nerding out talking about YouTube and video. So if anyone has any questions and you're intimidated to talk to Katie or Tim, reach out to me.
Yeah, he's actually doing it, so
yeah,
they yes,
well,
they can be pretty intimidating.
And the thing is, too, I think we talked about at REVB, like, you have to do things you're passionate about, but it also helps if you surround yourself with people that are passionate about it. So you may kind of like YouTube, but all of a sudden you start hanging out with people that love it. Well, you start to love it a little bit more. So if you're not super passionate about it, you should try to connect with people that are, so you can help find that passion. Katie, anything before we wrap up here?
No, Bill, very much appreciate you hopping on today, despite only being a one-time attendee of the Real Estate Video Blueprint. We are very looking forward to your triumphant return.
It was the first one.
It was the one that counted.
It was the first one. So
anyways, we are eagerly awaiting your triumphant return to the Real Estate Video Blueprint arena. And until then, I will see you online.
Maybe when I'm a speaker.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Guys, thanks for having me.